This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, on Spice FM, KTN Home, and online. In the room this and every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., is Eric Latif, Ndu Oko, and C.T. Muga. We are looking at this rift between the county and national government. What is happening? So the Council of Governors has written a letter to the National Treasury, yet again threatening to go on strike. Well, okay. They're saying we're going to shut down and cut down our operations because we don't have money. They are asking for an amount, how much is it? 94.7 billion shillings because they haven't received money October, November, December, January, basically to run operations. This is the disbursement from the national government going to the counties. And now they're saying we are left with zero option but to basically shut down. This is not the first time. Last year, towards the end, they also did the same thing. They said we're going to shut down. This was because of the standoff. Well, the explanation then was the standoff and the National Treasury claiming that they don't have any authority to send any amount of money because CARA has not been passed in the Senate. Then it was agreed, it was passed, they received some money. That is the only money they received in this financial year so far. 6 months into the financial year, they've only received one partial disbursement of money. So what exactly is happening? I want to bring in a constitutional lawyer. His name is Peter Wanyama. He is a partner with Manyonge, Wanyama and Associates Advocates. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. Happy New Year and good to see you again.
Asante sana Eric. Happy New Year.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So, Peter, this drama that keeps playing out often between the national government and the counties, how would you explain it? Let's just start from that point. From what you read, what is happening?
One of the biggest challenges which county governments have been facing since 2017, it's not something that is just occurring. It's been a problem since 2017, is delayed disbursements from National Treasury. The delayed disbursement has been manifesting itself in various ways. Initially, from 2013 onwards, at the onset of devolution, the national government used to release money to the counties on a monthly basis without delay. And that explains why at some point devolution was seen to be flourishing in the counties. And then it happened that national government embarked on a massive borrowing. And when that happens, then at the national coffers, it becomes a problem to finance counties because the first charge under the constitution, the first charge to the consolidated fund is money that we've borrowed, which is debt. That means that when Kenya Revenue Authority collects money, all that money first of all goes towards paying debt. So after 2017, then we kept on seeing challenges in terms of disbursements, where national government will disburse money on after let's say 4 months, 6 months, and now the trend is really worsening because counties are not getting money at all to finance their operations.
Is this behavior explained, Peter? Is it explained as to why this is happening? Because if we can go back a few steps, I believe that county governments budget what they need for the financial year. This is then now handed over to Treasury. Treasury at some point approves these budgets that then have been given, and then the disbursement should take place, if I'm correct with that process. So at the time of supposed disbursement, or when disbursement should take place, and then it doesn't happen, what explanation is given for counties to then understand and then take facilities or wait for this money? What is said at that point?
The process of county governments getting funded is somehow cast in law. There is the annual division of revenue act, which divides money between the two levels of government. Mm-hmm. And then after that has happened, the Senate will then pass the county appropriation of revenue act, which then appropriates the money horizontally. Now, all that is cast in stone. So it's anticipated that the counties will get their money. Now, one of the things which we need to look at from a constitutional standpoint is the fact that the Constitution does not anticipate a situation whereby counties don't get money. Mm-hmm. Because under the Constitution, and the Supreme Court has pronounced itself on this issue, that disbursements to counties is supposed to be done without undue delay. Mm. Now, the challenge is now of a practical nature. What if there is no money to actually disburse? And that is the reality at national level. The National Treasury is too broke as we speak. The last time they made the disbursement to counties, they made a disbursement to about 20 counties in December. Only 20 counties that had stayed since September without getting money. They made a disbursement of 10 billion shillings to these counties. So we've reached a point where they select counties which are supposed to get money. So it's a very, very dire situation, and I don't know where the country is headed, because where we are headed to is we're headed to a major crisis.
Mr. Wanyama, what criteria do they use for determining who to give money to and who not to?
Yeah, I suppose what happens if for example, you receive money in the next in this phase, the counties that received money in December, the 20 counties, yes. These counties in the next phase won't be able to receive money. So they will stay for as long as 4 months without getting any disbursements. And that affects then the budgeting at the county level. It affects development projects, and also it fuels corruption. It fuels corruption because there is now competition of resources at the county level. And the persons who then get paid are the ones who have the ear of the chief finance officer, the ones who go speak to the governor, they lobby for payment. So it's a big mess at the county level. So creditors are finding it a problem. Commercial banks whose loans have been taken by the counties informally are not being paid. Employees' salary, as we speak, the delay of salaries at the county level is now a norm. So it's a major crisis. That's why in my last interview on this show, I said that devolution is actually dead. We don't have devolution anymore. Devolution is nearly being barren now, as we speak.
Mr. Wanyama, let me ask this question. Okay, the death of devolution I will put aside for the time being, but prior to COVID, were we not solvent? We as a nation, through the agency of KRA, were we not collecting sufficient funds to meet the needs that we have?
I cannot say that, as I said earlier, I really can't say that Kenya has been solvent since 2017. And COVID is just a phenomenon which occurred the other day. Kenya has been insolvent from 2017 onwards. Because the delay to meet the obligations of counties is not a recent phenomenon. It is something which has been there since 2017, when the effect of the SGR borrowing, the effect of the Eurobond borrowing started manifesting itself in our books of accounts, to the point where now the National Treasury has been juggling issues. You have to borrow from point A, you borrow Peter and then pay Tom. So it's becoming a major crisis now. But it's been a crisis which has been slowly brewing. So you cannot attribute it wholly to COVID, even though COVID has also affected the way the national government collects revenue. But you cannot attribute the problem wholly to COVID. Mm-hmm.
Are we saying, therefore, that all the monies that we borrowed and all the plans we had for this particular monies that we borrowed, which of course have given this wonderful debt problem that we now have, are we saying then that whatever use they were put to did not bring about the intended consequence? Because if they had, then I would assume our economy would be robust enough to be able to meet whatever financial demands that are placed upon it, and we would be able to meet the obligations that we have towards the people we borrowed money from.
Yeah, you see, that's a question for economists. to answer, because from an economic standpoint, and I've been reading scholars like David Lee, what they have been saying is that, and consistently, is that the money which the national government has been borrowing is not being used properly from an economic standpoint. Investing in a huge infrastructure project like the SGR appears not to be giving us the positive effects that we anticipated. So it's turning out to be a white elephant. Instead, what is happening is that national government is digging in from its other sources of revenue to pay the debt which we incurred for the SGR. So you can see from that basic example that it appears most of these projects which have been done by the national government are not projects which are generating sufficient revenue streams to sustain our economic performance. So I believe that we do have a problem.
So here we are, and there's a threat of county governments to go on strike now, Peter, and to say that because they cannot operate, they will basically down their tools. So what are we looking at now in terms of a situation? What would happen if there really is no money? Because we're not saying that it's a reluctance to pay, there's an inability to pay. So what would happen here?
I believe it's a threat to try and force National Treasury into action and opening up, because shutting down operations it's a tall order. There are certain essential services which county governments offer, and shutting down operations will jeopardize the public, and also put governors in a very, very precarious position. Yeah, I believe the best legal strategy will be to perhaps sue the National Treasury to compel the release of the money, because it appears that national government operations are still functioning a bit normally. The problems are in the counties. And from a deep financing perspective of devolution, national government keeps more than 150 billion shillings in its budget on devolved functions, so they can conveniently operate without experiencing some of these challenges which county governments are facing, or failure to provide services. Yeah, so it's a mess which counties must now deal with. Perhaps it has a political dimension. You can look at it even from a BBI perspective. The national government, despite that some governors are supporting BBI, what does it mean in the context of financing of devolution? Yeah, because if national government cannot finance 15%, what about 35%? Is it a political gimmick to hoodwink counties to support BBI? So where are we headed here? So it's a major issue which county government needs to reflect and take a common position to protect devolution. Because what is happening is that we have now gone to the pre-2010 constitutional dispensation, where local governments were being funded under the program known as LATIF. In the LATIF program, counties, the local authorities will stay up to 6 months, 1 year before they get money. And when this money is released, will be released to the municipal authorities, then there will be a scramble for resources, and then people will just steal the money. So that is what is happening now with devolution. Devolution is dying, and as I said, we need to hold the last rights and bury devolution and implement something else, because we're not implementing devolution as conceptualized in the Constitution.
That's what we're doing now. We're basically just going for matangas in the evening, waiting for the funeral dates to be announced. Anyway, just to clarify, LATIF here is a local authority transfer fund that was used in the previous administration. Peter, if you look at the attitude that then we see being displayed by the national government and the officers in the national government, does it speak about their own willingness to run affairs of the country, or to bring about a change in the way we run affairs of the country in terms of killing devolution? Because if it's possible to send 10 billion shillings in December to some 20 counties, and it's also possible to finance the operations of the national government, especially when it comes to salaries and getting the basics done, why would it be impossible to finance some of those operations at the county level? Just ensuring, for example, that staff are paid. Is it so difficult?
Yeah, the challenge that we've been having is that many national government officers within the bureaucracy have never fully embraced devolution. Yeah, from 2013, when I was advising the Council of Governors, we did a risk analysis on the challenges facing devolution. And one of the biggest challenges that we identified were the existence of officers that we call centralists. Yeah, persons who will do anything to concentrate power at Nairobi. And we thought that they will kill devolution in a different way. Yeah, we thought that they will kill devolution by frustrating governors without cutting the money. But then what is happening is that they have succeeded in killing devolution by engaging in a massive borrowing spree. Yeah, so the massive borrowing spree, you indirectly kill devolution because all you need is the National Assembly. The National Parliament, which comprises the Senate and the National Assembly, the National Treasury prefers to deal with the National Assembly. And what they do is that to get anything passed at the National Assembly, they increase the CDF allocation so that members of Parliament have an incentive to push through budgetary proposals and even ceilings, debt ceilings, which accommodate the National Treasury. So despite the recommendations of the Commission for Revenue Allocation, with respect to how counties are supposed to be financed, whatever proposals which go through, which have been passing are proposals which the National Treasury tables to the National Assembly. Now, this also has a problem because the Senate is too weak. The Senate is too weak to protect counties. There are certain documents which under the Public Finance Management Act, the Senate is supposed to approve. Even though one of these very critical documents is the document which provides for the ceilings. It's something which the Senate is supposed to approve. Yeah, but now we don't see the Senate coming out very strongly to say that they are opposing the increase of the debt ceiling. So the net effect is that the institutions at national level, which have been led by centralists, such as the National Assembly and National Treasury, so by adopting a policy of massive borrowing, they have succeeded in killing devolution indirectly. Yeah, and from the way things are, I don't see devolution recovering anytime soon, because at the moment, national government spends 70% of the revenue that it collects to pay debt. So the 30% is what is left to share. So the net effect is that there is going to be increased borrowing for national government to finance devolution. They have to borrow. And then this borrowing will attract certain obligations, including payment of interest, which the country cannot sustain. You see, with the declining economic performance, how are we going to pay this debt that we are going to borrow on a daily basis? So we are staring in a major debt crisis, which, as I said, will lead to the death of devolution permanently.
Mr. Wanyama, if I were to speculate that the role that I think Parliament is supposed to play is, well, among others, is a protective one. Apart from just representing the people who elect them, is to protect us from this very situation that we are in. And it appears that they've been complicit in the very, very, very actions that have brought us to the stage that we are in. So, would you, from just a legal perspective, say that what the Chief Justice proclaimed a while back, last year, in saying that indeed Parliament should be dissolved, well, the issue that brought it into being was something else, but given their participation in the current quagmire that we're in, would you say that that particular perspective would have been a justified one, that indeed Parliament should be dissolved because they have failed to actually perform their duties?
Yeah, the Chief Justice has seen the former Chief Justice now has seen this issue in a real-time perspective by sitting on cases concerning division of revenue. And by him making that pronouncement, it's a very, very clear pronouncement in my view that the national parliament has really let down Kenyans. From a constitutional standpoint, parliament is supposed to provide the needed checks and balances to the executive to ensure that there's no runaway borrowing, there's no runaway corruption, there are no problems in budgeting, and generally issues regarding maladministration. But I can tell you that the National Assembly has really let Kenyans down, with the Senate also participating in pushing through proposals that don't really seem to protect devolution.
I would actually also argue. I would also argue that as we look at the individual members, the political players in the National Assembly and in the Senate, let's also look at the politicians who are heading our counties, and these are the governors. If, for example, the way you started by saying, if you look at those governors who are hook, line, and sinker supporting BBI because of looking at their own political expediency and their survival, it could be the same thing. The Council of Governors, all the governors in the country since 2017, as you say, devolution has just been strangled and it's been dying slowly and slowly. We haven't had them come out strongly to say that this is happening to devolution, to support and defend devolution. Would you say that even the governors who are in office today are just as poor in performance as the members of parliament?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. You know, in our risk analysis, which I said we did during the tenure of Governor Isaac Ruto, who was very strong in pushing for strong devolution, we identified 5 factors for the success of devolution. The one which we didn't see, the 6th factor, is political power relations. The emerging political power relations and how it affects governance. You can clearly see that the handshake changed the entire political dynamics of this country. And you will then find that governors, for survival, for example, if you are a governor in Luo Nyanza, there is no way you can go against a political statement which has been made by your leader. If you are a governor in central Kenya, there is no way you can go against a political objective by your leader. So to that extent, I can tell you that it also affected the operations of the Council of Governors. Yeah, because the governors who will support BBI will not then come out very strongly to push against policies of national government which undermine devolution. And that's a fact. And you can see that it has affected. You can now see, for example, the current chairperson of the Council of Governors. It's very difficult for him supporting BBI and then taking a position against national government. It's very, very difficult for him. To do that. So you can see that they have not been very strong in pushing national government to account in the same way Governor Isaac Ruto used to do, to push national government to account, push policies that favor devolution. And then the other perspective also, the other perspective which has made the Council of Governors very weak, is that at some point there was this war against graft, where the DCI and DPP were being used by certain persons at the national government to target certain governors. And the targeting was being done in the context of BBI. So that governors who had problems, one or two issues here, you have an interest which you have not surrendered, you have issues here and there, then you see a prosecution. Because the narrative then, and I can tell you that it was a deep narrative, is that they charge you in court, then you're removed from office through an order of the magistrate. So that will put a lot of fear also in governors. To the point where you can clearly see that governors are not taking a position, which favors devolution. In fact, the strongest governors, if you look at it from a political standpoint, are the ones who are on the Tanga side, because they oppose the regime, they oppose BBI, and BBI policies that hamstrung devolution, and they come out very strongly on this.
On the other side,
Of course,
Peter.
yeah, of course, at the fear of being taken to court by EACC and DCI.
Thank you very much, Peter, for speaking to us this morning. Peter Wanyama is a constitutional lawyer. He's a partner with Manyonge and Wanyama and Associates. Manyonge, Wanyama and Associates Advocates. Asante sana for joining us today, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Asante.